will have to respond one head at a time, with one word at a thing. So, they're over here, and if you have a question for our professor, raise your hand, but I'll start it off. Professor, kicking in the front seat, sitting in the back seat, which seat should I take?
Was that the question?
Hello? Oh, there we go. Right?
Hi.
You can hear me? Yeah,
Okay.
Shall we start over?
Yes.
That
Was
A
silly.
question.
so
You
Should
not
ever
ask
me
again.
how's the planet?
How is the planet Namek doing?
Piccolo.
Is
not
Doing.
very
well.
Because
he
Was
blown
up
on
his.
home.
planet.
However,
Namek
Remains
victorious.
Next question. What is the meaning of life?
Life
Can
often,
be.
funny,
but
It's
often
confusing.
because
it's
Life.
Here's a classic. How many licks does it take to get the center of a Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop?
Tootsie.
Pops.
Are
A.
Kind.
of
Lie.
Ready? How many silly bands do you have? Are you done? Oh. Okay. So, how many silly bands do you have? How many silly bands do you have and what kind? The silly bands are apparently those popular bands people wear on the wrist. They're silly. Silly bands?
What? How many what?
How many silly bands? They're wrist things that.
Oh, the ones that turn into
And what kind?
stuff.
Apparently you guys don't have any.
Silly.
Bands.
are
Silly.
So,
you
Can
have
as
many
as
you.
want.
except
If
You
have
for
don't.
where
just
12.
really stump you. Here's one that'll really stump you. Ninjas or pirates?
Unicorns.
Rather
tasty.
When
you
Feed
then
to
zombies.
ready? Here's the final question. When should an anime series end? How long? It's too long.
anime
Often
Runs
far
too
long.
but
one
Or
two
seasons
should
suffice
unless
it
is
stupid
you
can
run
never
That's all the questions. That's all the questions we have for the professor.
roulette.
Oh, yeah!
In this game, our contestants will be attempting to explain a PowerPoint presentation with no prior knowledge of the subject. We've assembled a presentation with 20 slides. We'll start with Chris to present the first 5 slides, then he'll introduce the second person to present their slides, and so on. Whatever comes up on the screen, they'll have to explain in some way that relates to the presentation topic. Jack has headed out into the audience to get a topic. We would like from the audience something you recently did a school report on.
Dragons. Herpes.
Water conservation.
Dr. Shadows. The First Crusade.
John
I think Jack has made a selection. No?
Vietnam War.
Water purification.
Toilet.
It's about a new archaeological dig.
What? Archaeological dig?
Archaeological dig.
All right.
Yes.
Chris, take it away. Are you ready to say next slide?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Very excited to go back to for the scientific study. We're a new archaeological dig we have going on. Now, if you were to look at the pie chart here, the green represents the least amount of digging that has been done, whereas the lighter yellow indicates the most digging that has been done. And if you notice, it goes in kind of a circular pattern. We started very light, and then we started working, and we found some amazing discoveries. If we could get the next slide, please. I would like to see the next slide. We found a race of giants. They're absolutely stunning. They're all albino. And of course, our people being so unfortunately tiny beside them, have been forced kind of into some sort of indentured servitude. And they're primarily made to brush their teeth and clean their ears, but there are new things being discovered every day. Could we please see the next slide? Well, now, if one of these giants should sneeze, you must be very, very careful. You must maintain absolute solid footing. As you see my daughter here. We lost her. It was hay fever season. And so the poor child blew around quite a bit. But that's family slides. You don't need to see that. Can we see the next one, please? Now, I told you these people are exceptionally large. So large they don't even have shoes. But to keep the bones from disrupting and bursting from their feet, we've instilled a sort of lace like you would for a shoe to bind the bones together. And it seems to have worked very well for them, if you know what I mean. Yes, next slide, please. Now, when we first met them, there was quite a degree of panic. You see, when they had never seen many females, and they became quite excited. And of course, the children are small, with large bugged eyes. They're not nearly as big as the parents. So it was quite very much a disruptive scene, if you would. Do we have another slide? I'm not sure. All right, we should probably turn this over to someone who knows a little bit more about the actual practicality of the dig itself. I just tend to be the face man for this venture, so I'm going to turn it over to my associate who knows much, much more about the actual dig itself.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that introduction. As my colleague has said, I do know quite a bit about digs. Not much about the social public speaking, but let's if we could move to the next slide. I have some I think very fascinating things to show you. If we can have these are my puppies. He's actually thing one and thing two. I'm a big Dr. Seuss fan, as it were. They come with me, and it's funny. I developed this technique myself. These dogs, particularly teacup poodles, have been specially trained to sniff out the substrate substrata that we have to get to grade. It's very, very, very delicate work, and without the work of a dog like this to help, we would destroy much of the finds before they ever surfaced. For example, if we could go to the next slide, just to sort of emphasize my point. This is what happens when you don't use them. So it may seem eccentric, of course, to have 2 teacup poodles, but when you look at the options, surely you see how much money we save in the long run. So, anyway, going on past all that, if you'll indulge me, another slide, please. I'll show you some of the interesting things we found. This, we think, is a prototype for the very, very first Volkswagen. We're not sure who found it first, but apparently this is at least 10,000 years old by our reckoning. And given the region, that's pretty amazing because according to all our data, human beings shouldn't have even been around or civilized in that area for another 4,000 years. And, well, they were working on it still, but as you can see, well, moving on, to highlight this slide, if I could have my next slide, please. This is really, really, really fascinating. Now, you may be looking at this and your first reaction is, what on earth am I looking at? What could this possibly have to do with an archaeological dig? And funny, when my associate showed me this very picture, I thought much the same thing, and I puzzled for days and days over how to possibly tie this into what I'm doing. But I finally found that the good way, you see, this race that we found, we discovered, the very first thing we discovered were these animal-like remains. This, believe it or not, is where we got the ideas for the poodle, because we believe this race of beings, whose existence we uncovered in substrata, 10,000 years old at least, used these sock monkeys for archaeological digs, just as we use poodles. I'm not sure how I just did that. So, I have one more slide to show you before I introduce the next expert. And, oh, sorry, that's just my map skill. Well, no, actually, this is a wonderful representation of the region. Oh, yes, I'll let my associate speak to this. She's more the cartographer, I think, than I am. Take it away, please.